Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive into the world of AI. And today we're tackling something really fascinating, something that I think is just kind of mind-blowing when you really get into it.
Yeah, this one's pretty cool.
We are going to be looking at how AI understands human language,
Yeah.
which it's doing a better and better job at all the time. It seems like almost every day there's some new development that just pushes the boundaries even further.
Yeah, it's moving incredibly fast. It really is.
So how is AI becoming so good at understanding us, at reading our words and actually getting what we mean?
Well, the key to all of this is something called transformer encoding. And this is the technology that powers some of those big AI names that you've definitely heard of, like ChatGPT and Bard.
Right, right.
And to help us unpack all of this, we're going to be diving deep into a really insightful video transcript called Transformer Encoding Mechanism Explained. And it's from Femtoware Infotech. And it does a great job of just breaking this whole thing down in a way that I think is really, really helpful.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty clear too. So to kind of set the stage here, imagine AI before Transformers came along. It was like trying to talk to someone who could only understand one word at a time, right? They were missing all that context, the nuances, the flow of the conversation. It was super limited.
Exactly. Yeah, it was really a very, very limited form of understanding. But then things changed, right?
Yeah.
2017, this research paper comes out, and it was titled, Attention is All You Need. And it introduced this whole concept, this whole architecture of the transformer. And it was like a revolution. It totally changed how AI approached language.
Yeah, it's like AI could suddenly see the whole picture instead of just like little tiny pieces of a puzzle. It
Exactly.
could connect all those dots, see how the words related to each other, not just in a sentence, but in like a whole paragraph, even an
Mhm.
entire document. That's huge.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's important to remember, like you said before Transformers, you had models like RNNs and CNNs, and they were okay, but they had some serious limitations.
Like what?
Well, like RNNs, for example. They
Right.
struggled with this thing called the vanishing gradient problem, which meant that essentially they kind of forgot the information from earlier parts of a sentence by the time they got to the later parts. It was like they had a really short memory.
Oh.
And then CNNs, they were limited by their fixed context windows, so they could only analyze these small chunks of text at a time. They couldn't really see the big picture. And then transformers came along, and boom, they could process these entire sequences of text simultaneously while understanding the connections between every single word. It was a game changer.
So how do transformers like actually work? How do they do this?
Well, it all starts with transforming words into something that AI can actually digest,
Mm,
numbers.
okay.
This process is called embeddings, and you can kind of think of it like creating a numerical fingerprint for each word, right?
Anchor print. Okay. Yeah.
So these fingerprints capture the essence of a word, like its meaning and its relationship to other words. It's like a
Mhm.
secret code for meaning.
So AI can understand the meaning of a word without actually knowing the word itself.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's another really important piece of this puzzle. Word order. How do you tell AI that cat chases mouse is different from mouse chases cat?
Ah, right, right. Because word order obviously is so important. Just like, the order of letters matters when you're forming a word. The order of words, that's how we get meaning from a sentence.
Exactly. And that's where positional encodings come in.
Okay.
These are like numerical tags that are added to each word's embedding, and they basically tell the AI where that word sits in the sentence. It's like giving each word a little numbered flag so the AI knows, okay, this is word number one, this is word number two, and so on.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
So now the AI has these numerical representations of each word, and each one has its own little flag telling it where it belongs in the sentence. Then what?
Right. So then comes the transformer encoder, and this is where things get really interesting. Think of it like a multi-layered factory, right? And each layer of this factory adds a new level of understanding to the text. So it goes through, the text goes through each layer and it becomes more and more refined, like a beautiful product being assembled.
Okay, so it's a step-by-step process. It's refining the AI's understanding of the text. But what's actually happening within each of those layers? What are the key players there?
Well, inside each layer, you have these two superstars. You have multi-head self-attention and a feed-forward neural network. And let's start with the self-attention because that's where the real magic is happening.
The magic.
And
Okay.
this is the mechanism that allows the AI to really understand the context of each word by relating it to every other word in the sentence. So it's not just about knowing what each individual word means, but how they all fit together to create a complete thought.
Oh, okay. So it's not just like looking up a word in a dictionary. It's like understanding how that word functions within the sentence as a whole.
Exactly, yeah. And the self part means that each word is analyzing itself in relation to all the other words in the sentence. It's like each word gets to have a little conversation with all the other words, figuring out, like how they relate to each other.
So I'm picturing this like each word having a conversation with every other word. Like, hey, what do you guys know about me?
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
But how does that conversation, like, technically work? I've heard about these things called query, key, and value vectors.
Right, yeah. So imagine each word has these three special tags. A query tag, which is like asking a question, a key tag, which is like holding an answer, and a value tag, which is like providing some extra information.
So the query word is basically saying, hey, what do you guys know about me? And then the other words respond with their keys.
Exactly, exactly. And then based on how well the queries and keys match up, the AI calculates these attention scores.
Mm.
It's kind of like measuring how much each word should be paying attention to the others. The higher the score, the stronger the connection between the words.
So it's like each word is trying to find its best friends in the sentence.
Yeah, the words that are giving it the most context. And then, after the AI has calculated these attention scores, what it does is it takes each word's value tag
Right.
and it multiplies it by its corresponding attention score, and then it sums all that up. And what you get is this new enriched representation of the original query word.
Wow.
And it incorporates information from all the other words in the sentence, but it's weighted by their relevance. So it's like each word is absorbing the knowledge of its neighbors, becoming more informed about its role in the sentence.
Ah, that is so cool. So it's like this constant back and forth. Each word is like, what do you know? What do you know? What do you know? And then it takes all that information in, and then it's like, okay, now I understand myself better because of what you guys have told me.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And the multi-head part just means this whole process is happening multiple times in parallel. It's like having several different conversations going on at the same time. And this allows the AI to capture all sorts of different types of relationships between the words, so it gets a much richer understanding of the text.
It's like AI is doing some serious mental gymnastics here, but I'm starting to see why self-attention is such a big deal. It's like giving AI this superpower for understanding language. But we haven't even talked about that other key player in each layer, the feed-forward neural network, right?
Right, right. Think of that as the polishing station in our factory. It takes the refined information from the attention layer and it further processes it and it kind of makes sure that everything is, really clear and ready for the next stage of understanding.
Okay, so we've got this incredible system now. Words are turned into numbers. They get those positional flags, and then they're allowed to analyze each other through this amazing multi-head self-attention mechanism. But why is self-attention so powerful? What makes it such a game changer?
Well, that's a great question, and it really gets to the heart of why transformers have been such a huge breakthrough in the world of AI. It really is. It really gets to the heart of why transformers have been such a huge breakthrough in AI. There are a few key reasons why self-attention is just so powerful.
Yeah, like what?
Hmm.
What makes it so special?
Well, for one thing, it allows for parallelization. So unlike some of those older AI models that had to process text word by word, transformers can look at the entire sequence at once,
So they're working much faster.
much faster. And this makes a huge difference when you're dealing with, massive amounts of data. And then another really important advantage is that it can handle these long-range dependencies within text. So older models, they would often kind of forget the beginning of a sentence by the time they got to the end, which made it really hard to understand, complex ideas.
Right, yeah.
But with self-attention, the AI can see the connections between words no matter how far apart they are. So it can understand the full context, which is, essential for really grasping those nuances of language.
It's like it has this incredible memory,
Yeah.
right? It can hold the entire sentence in its mind at once and see all those connections.
Exactly, yeah. And the third thing, and this is really cool, is that self-attention is incredibly versatile. It's not just for language.
Really?
Yeah, so the same technology that's used to process text can also be used for images, music, even things like protein structures. It's pretty amazing.
That is wild. So we've talked a lot about this encoding process, but I'm curious, now that we have a better sense of how transformers kind of decode language, how does this actually translate into those real world applications? Like what kind of impact are they having on our lives right now?
That's where it gets really exciting, right? Because now that we have these master code breakers, we can see how they're changing everything. I mean, think about search engines. When you go to Google or Bing and you type in a query, well, the search engine has to figure out what you're asking, right? And then it has to find the most relevant results.
Right.
Well, transformers have completely revolutionized that process. By giving search engines this deeper understanding of language, this ability to understand those subtleties and relationships between words. So instead of just matching keywords, they're understanding your intent.
So no more sifting through pages and pages of irrelevant results, hopefully.
Hopefully not, yeah. And it's not just about finding websites anymore. Search engines are using transformers for things like question answering, where you can type in a question and get a direct answer, or even things like image search, where you can describe an image and the search engine will find it.
It's like having a personal research assistant right at your fingertips. What about chatbots? It feels like they've gotten so much smarter in recent years. I'm guessing transformers are behind that too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Chatbots are another area where transformers have had a huge impact. Before transformers, chatbots were often really clunky.
Yeah, I remember.
They used to rely on these pre-programmed responses, and it would be so frustrating, trying to get them to understand what you were asking. But now with transformers, chatbots can understand the flow of a conversation, they can remember past interactions, and they can respond in a way that just feels so much more natural and human-like. It's amazing.
I've definitely noticed that. It's like they're actually becoming conversational, more engaging, less frustrating to deal with.
Exactly, yeah. And as transformers keep getting better, we can expect chatbots to become even more sophisticated. And, I think they're going to start taking on more and more roles in our lives. Everything from, customer service to education to maybe even things like companionship.
That's both kind of exciting and a little bit mind-boggling. But it's clear that transformers are just pushing the boundaries of what AI can do. And you mentioned earlier, it's not just about language either. They're super versatile.
Right. The applications go way beyond text. I mean, for instance, researchers are using transformers to understand things like sign language, which opens up a whole world of possibilities for communication and accessibility. It's incredible.
Yeah, that is amazing. It's like these transformers are breaking down barriers, and making communication more inclusive. And I'm also thinking about the more creative side of things. We're seeing AI generate art, write stories, even compose music. Are transformers playing a role in that as well?
Absolutely. They're at the heart of a lot of the most creative AI tools that are being developed. There are systems that can generate incredibly realistic images just from a text description.
Whoa, that sounds like something out of science fiction.
It does, doesn't it? And it's not just images. AI is composing music in all sorts of styles. And, there are even AI systems that are writing entire novels and they're coming up with engaging plots and characters. It's really mind-blowing.
It's like AI is becoming a partner in the creative process, helping us explore new ideas and push the boundaries of what's possible.
It's a collaboration, a really cool collaboration between human creativity and AI's ability to, process all that information and generate these novel outputs. It's really exciting.
So we've gone from search engines and chatbots to AI creating art and music. What other areas are being impacted by this? What about the more technical fields like, healthcare or scientific research?
Well, transformers are proving to be invaluable in those areas as well. In healthcare, they're being used to analyze medical images, with incredible precision. And this is helping doctors detect diseases earlier and more accurately.
So they're like these superpowered assistants for doctors, helping them make those faster and more informed diagnoses.
Exactly. And they're not just analyzing images, they're also being used to predict patient outcomes, which can help personalize treatment plans and improve the quality of care overall. And in drug discovery, they're really accelerating the process of identifying those promising new drug candidates.
It sounds like transformers are revolutionizing healthcare, from diagnosis all the way through treatment. What about their impact on scientific research?
Well, they're having a really profound impact there as well. I mean, they're being used to analyze these massive data sets so scientists can identify patterns and insights that, humans would probably never be able to spot on their own.
It's like they're digital detectives sifting through mountains of data to find those hidden clues.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. And they're not just analyzing data, they're helping scientists run these complex simulations. So it's speeding up research in areas like climate modeling and astrophysics. They're giving scientists these powerful tools to understand the world around us, in new ways.
It's incredible how this one technology, the transformer, is having such a ripple effect across so many different fields.
It really is remarkable. And I think as transformers continue to, evolve and improve, we can expect to see even more groundbreaking applications emerge in the years to come. It's a really exciting time to be witnessing this, the transformative power of AI.
It definitely feels like we're on the cusp of something big. But before we get too carried away with all the possibilities, we have to think about the potential downsides as well. I know there's a lot of concern about, the ethical implications of AI becoming so powerful. It's a bit like we've opened Pandora's box, right?
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I think it highlights, it's just how important it is to have these conversations about, what does it mean to develop AI responsibly?
Mm.
We need to be aware of the potential risks and challenges so we can address them head on.
It's a bit like we've opened Pandora's box, right? We have this amazing tool that can understand and generate human language, but now we have to figure out, how to use it responsibly, how to make sure it doesn't get away from us.
Yeah, a powerful analogy.
Yeah.
And I think it really highlights the importance of having these thoughtful conversations about AI and its implications. We need to be aware of the potential risks and challenges so we can, proactively address them as this technology keeps advancing.
So, what are some of those key things that we should be thinking about as AI continues to evolve? Like, what are the big questions we need to be asking ourselves?
Well, one really crucial aspect is transparency. As these AI systems become more complex, it's so important that we understand how they're making decisions. We need to be able to look under the hood and ensure that those decisions are fair and unbiased, and that they align with our values.
So, it's not enough to just marvel at what AI can do, right? We need to make sure we understand the reasoning behind its actions, especially when it comes to making important decisions that affect people's lives.
Exactly. And this is closely related to the idea of explainability. AI shouldn't be a black box. We need to be able to understand why an AI system arrived at a particular conclusion, or why it made a specific recommendation. And this is especially important in fields like healthcare, finance, law, where the stakes are really high.
It's like the old saying, trust but verify. We need to be able to trust these AI systems, but we also need to have the ability to verify that they're operating as intended, that they're not, going off the rails.
Exactly. Yeah. And another important consideration is, the potential impact of AI on human connection and creativity.
Mm.
I mean, AI can be this incredible tool for communication and artistic expression, but it's important that we don't become overly reliant on it.
Mm.
We don't want to lose sight of the value of human interaction, empathy, original thought. Those things are so important.
So it's about finding that balance, right, between harnessing the power of AI and preserving the qualities that make us uniquely human.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. It's about figuring out how to integrate AI into our lives in a way that enhances our abilities, not replaces them. We want to use AI as a tool to augment our creativity, not stifle it.
Right. It's like any powerful tool, right? It can be used for good or for bad. It all depends on how we choose to wield it.
That's a great point. Ultimately, the future of AI is in our hands. We have a responsibility to guide its development and make sure it's used ethically and responsibly.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes, to just how complex this technology is. We've explored how it works, the amazing things it can do, and the potential risks that we really need to be mindful of.
And hopefully it sparked some curiosity and, inspired some further exploration. The world of AI is constantly evolving, so it's important to stay informed and engage in these conversations, ask those tough questions.
Absolutely. So, to all of our listeners out there, here's something to ponder. If AI can already understand language this well, what will it be capable of in 5 years, 10 years? How will it shape our world, our jobs, our relationships? It's something to think about.
It's a future full of possibilities, both exciting and, maybe a little bit daunting. But I think by understanding how AI works, its limitations, its potential impact, we can make more informed decisions about how we want to shape that future.
That's a wrap for this deep dive into the world of transformer encoding. We hope you learned something new, gained some new perspectives, maybe even had a few aha moments along the way. Remember, knowledge is power, and the more we understand about AI, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this future that it's creating.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.